Welcome to the Beauty Equation podcast, where beauty meets biology, psychology, and art history. This podcast is hosted by myself, Dr. Christelle Oliver-Dussault, Dr. Harpreet Lotay, and a beauty industry expert, Amanda Manholt. This is your space to reclaim agency over aging and beauty on your terms. We're cutting through the noise with evidence-based insights and real talk about aging, self-perception, and modern treatments. No quick fixes, no fluff. Just honest conversations to empower you to define beauty for yourself. Hi,
Hello.
Welcome to the Beauty Equation podcast. I'm Dr. Christelle Oliver-Dussault.
And I'm Dr. Harpreet Lotay.
And I'm not a doctor. I'm Amanda Manholt.
So today's first episode, we will be talking about the why behind this podcast, the reason we all came together to have these discussions and really to empower you to understand the beauty industry and the aging process. So I might start with Dr. Lotay or Harpreet, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Call me Harpreet.
What does the beauty equation mean to you?
Well, the reason I'm here doing this podcast is really because I feel like aesthetics and the beauty industry should be accessible to everybody. And I think that oftentimes we create a lot of stigma around it, a lot of mystery around it. And it seems like magic potions and spells to a lot of people. But for me, it's really based in science and visual art. And I really do believe that everybody should have agency to choose the type of aesthetics they want, how they want to age. And I just love providing information to people. And I love talking to people like you. I love talking to you.
We've had a lot of these conversations in the hallway. What about you, Amanda?
I think for me, I just love to empower people to make good decisions. There's so much nonsense out there, just to be totally blunt. I think it can feel really overwhelming, and I feel like we're drowning in knowledge between Reels and TikTok. It's so different than when, Harpreet and I grew up. You're a little younger than us, but I'm sure you as well, right? I mean, we didn't have all of this information at our fingertips.
No, I still remember writing handwritten paper essays.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm dating myself now. But
And it's the same problem, right? It's either they have too much information and can't make a decision, or they don't have enough information and they can't make a decision. So I just love helping people understand just what's accurate, and just give them the information so that they can, make an informed decision.
Yeah, it's a very vulnerable space to be in.
It is.
We carry a huge responsibility when we have those conversations with women and men. And I think sometimes that's forgotten, and our clients can sometimes be taken advantage of. For me, that was a huge driver to demystify what's available and to reassure people that they're actually in control and to give them the tools to make those decisions so that they're happy with their journey and the treatments that they're offered and treatments that they receive.
Absolutely. And I think to make it approachable, I think a lot of times people feel really intimidated by aesthetics. And also, there's a certain veneer around aesthetics, even aesthetic clinics. Oftentimes they're very fancy places and they're very blingy, and you feel like you might not belong there. So I think our podcast is a space to have honest conversations with three very normal people. So bring your questions and listen to us chat.
Yeah. And beauty is so subjective as well, too. I think it's very easy to get caught up in what you see on social media or in Hollywood and think that that's the goal I'm meant to achieve. That's the way I'm meant to look. And if you look across different cultures, you realize that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There are so many different ways that someone can be deemed attractive, and you have to respect the person in front of you and really understand them in their cultural context and respect that.
Absolutely.
And I think it can be very, really just confusing and overwhelming. And even there's a lot of shame, I think, around the thought that people are even entertaining the idea of having a conversation or stepping foot into a clinic. It's interesting. I don't typically get that from the men that come in. They don't seem to really have any issues about feeling ashamed about wanting to address a concern that they have. But definitely I feel like it's a it's a big thing and with the women that we see.
It's such a fine line because you're walking that line of I want to still look fresh, but I don't want to look done. And you don't want to look like you're trying too hard. And it's a very hard space to navigate. And we see that a lot in our clinic because a lot of our patients are very natural. A lot of them don't dye their hair, don't wear makeup, but they still want some tools. And they're the patients sometimes I love the most, and they're ones that tend to be the most intimidated by coming to these spaces because there's that notion that like I need to look a certain way to get these types of treatments.
Yeah, I had a consult last week, and she was just a stunning woman that was turning 70 and gorgeous, has never done a thing. And it was interesting to me, that at this stage, at this age, that she was decided to make an appointment and come in and have a chat. And, I think the thing I hear over and over again is, look, I'm not trying to look like I'm 20. Like, that ship has sailed. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to look like someone else. I just don't want to look tired. I don't want to look sad. I don't want to look angry. Um, and that's the thing. It's, if you don't do something, well, then you've let yourself go. But if you do too much, then you're trying too hard. You're one of those women. So it's like you said, Christelle, it's like a little tight rope, very fine
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And I think we often underestimate the different factors that come into the concept of beauty and appearance. And really, we all have a very similar approach. We're very kind of mind body focused. And sometimes that's forgotten. This is why I often repeat, you need to understand the person in front of you, their goals. And we really love to work with women and help build back their confidence because that's something I've noticed. And I think both of you have as well, too, that sometimes they'll come in, they'll be very closed, sometimes quite nervous. And a lot of them will come into us after they've had a very difficult period in their lives and they're finally starting to think, I want to do something for me. We might start small, but when you see them for the follow-up, they come in, they have a smile, they're standing a bit more upright, and it's so rewarding to see that and to meet them at regular intervals and see how they're doing.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite parts, it's when you see that change in confidence and you see them just approach the world differently, that means the world to me. The other driver that seems to bring people in is a certain sense of dissonance. So many times I have people who have noticed aging changes, and the thing, it doesn't bother them that they're getting older. That's a privilege, right? But what bothers them more is that they can't relate to the person who they see in the mirror, whether that means the emotional attributes or the messages their face is sending due to natural aging processes, or the vitality that they see reflected in the mirror is not the same as what they feel inside. And that dissonance in identity is a real challenge for most people. And so that's a big driver. And they're scared of coming in and having work done, as you've both said, that will make them look further less like themselves. So they're not interested in changing themselves. They're interested in being who they are and were, and they don't recognize that person in the mirror anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
love.
like that relevance, right? Where they say, like, it's almost like they start to fade away and become less relevant if they're still working. And I mean, you think about the years, as people sort of, get into their 30s, 50s and beyond, it's amazing all of the experience and knowledge that they have in their field, but it's sort of like our appearance kind of lets us down a little bit sometimes.
I'm excited to create this space to have these discussions for people so people can expect these types of conversations more in depth as we go forward. So this is episode 1, just a taster. So
who is this for? If there's someone listening and they have a friend that they're thinking might enjoy this, who do you think would appreciate hearing our conversations?
Well, I think this is really for anyone who wants honest information, wants to listen to 3 smart ladies, if I may say so. Normal, normal 3 women having a chat, but with a wealth of experience. So, Amanda, you've had 30 years in this industry and have helped women through cosmetics and skincare and have heard all of the things that drive women to your counter and now to your consultation room. And I, as my background in family practice for so many years, decades, unfortunately and unfortunately, um, 20 plus years in aesthetics, we have a lot we can share. And Christelle, you have a breadth of knowledge, studying in the UK and, doing your aesthetics at the Harley Academy and so much more. You've invested time. And I think if
Yeah,
people want
we've
to hear
all kind
from,
of had our own paths that brought us together.
yes,
And I think that's something we're going to touch on next episode.
yes,
So if you enjoyed today's episode, I encourage you to share it with a friend. Send us an email. We'll putting the details down below, and stay tuned for next time, where we will go into a bit more depth about our backgrounds and all how the three of us came to work together.
yes.
Take care.
Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. While we're medical professionals, everything shared on the Beauty Equation is for informational purposes only and isn't intended as medical advice. This podcast doesn't establish a doctor-patient relationship, and any medical or aesthetic decision should always be made with a qualified healthcare provider. Our views are our own and don't necessarily reflect those of our employers or affiliated organizations. And remember, the field of aesthetics is always evolving, so information may change over time. See you next time on the Beauty Equation.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need to hear it too. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions. You can send us an email at info@thebeautyequation.com, and you might hear your question answered in future episodes. You can also find us on Instagram at Dr. Christelle MD, at H. Lotay MD, and at Crow's Feet and Confidence. Until next time, keep questioning the equation.